And solving problems has this within the existence of humans even before technologies. And the first ways that people used to problem solve back then in history was, the very first ways was through the number system. Back then people would either use their fingers, their hands to count, or they would use their brain to mentally think it up. Usually simple problems could be able to be solved mentally. And after that, when we were able to create paper and pens, we were able to make math equations, and we would be written down to be able to solve them. And then after that, we were able to create like bits of bits and new technologies that will help us solve problems. Now, with the help of technology, everything could be solved within seconds. We have technologies such as calculators will help us solve problems efficiently and quick, while we have new devices and online websites such as Mathway or Brainly were able to solve the equations right away for us. And because of this, we become more reliant on technology, and we are not able to remember these different equations to be able to solve the problems ourselves, which is really bad, because then if we just need to convert, for examples like centimeters to meters, instead of doing the math ourselves and memorizing how to do it, we'll just type it in Google and then get the answers right away.
Whether one wants to label a situation as an opportunity, challenge, or a problem, IDEA is a simple, four-step process for resolving whatever issues we face. The process includes identifying the problem, developing solutions, executing your plan, and then assessing the extent to which the plan resolved the problem.
Let us assume that this tree represents a problem. Looking at it, we may decide that the very obvious portions of the tree represent the causes of the problem. However, the 5-why technique will show you that these obvious segments are not usually the cause of a problem, but rather are symptoms of a deeper issue. Very often we try to solve a problem, but all we do is treat the symptoms, and meanwhile the problem still exists unscathed. So now we can see that the tree's branches and leaves represent symptoms of the problem. The 5 whys technique will help us dig deeper to discover the root cause of the problem, show quality in our work. Some steps to follow when applying the 5 why technique. Don't treat the symptoms and expect the problem to go away. Ask why until you determine the root cause. Develop a countermeasure to combat the root cause or causes.
Over 30,000 years ago, early Paleolithic people kept track of the passing seasons and the changes of weather for planting. To represent the passing of time, they carved tally marks on cave walls or slashed tallies on bones, wood, or stone. Each tally stood for 1. But this system was awkward when it came to large amounts, so symbols were eventually created that stood for groups of objects. Sumerian clay stones have been found that date to the 4th millennium BC. A small clay cone was used for 1, a clay ball was used for 10, and a large cone stood for 60. Written records from around 3300 BC show that Babylonians inscribed amounts on clay tablets with a reed. They used a nail shape for 1s and a V on its side for 10s, combining these symbols to write other numbers. For example, Babylonians wrote the number 19 as. The ancient Egyptians used objects from their everyday life as symbols. A rod stood for 1, a cattle hobble was 10, a coiled rope was 100, a lotus flower was 1,000, and so on. The number 19 was a cattle hobble and 9 rods. The early Romans created a number system that we still see today. Along with other symbols, they used an X for 10 and an I for 1. By the Middle Ages, Romans were putting the I to the right of the X for 11 and to the left for 9. So they wrote 19 as XIX. All these creative number systems show groups of objects as well as individual objects.
And students at Oshkosh Elementary School are using technology to help solve the world's problems.
Yes, the problems belong to an imaginary world students are creating. 3rd through 5th grade students at Jacob Shapiro School in Oshkosh are taking on issues ranging from education to public transportation. Fox 11's Chad Doran explains.
From the minds of the world's next great problem solvers. Students first come up with an idea for their imaginary problem, then put it on paper. Then they use modeling clay to test their solution, which finally gets printed using a 3D printer to become part of the imaginary city. The students at Shapiro are among those from only 8 schools in the world to participate in the program. Teachers say the students are learning creativity and literacy through technology.
Now that we know about the different ways of problem solving, I'm going to interview a few people today on how they solve problems themselves without the use of technology. Be back. Okay.
I solve problems by not using technology, by like asking around, because what you don't know, the next person might. So, yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I would like to ask about how you're able to solve problems without the use of technology today. Yes. Yeah, so how will you be able to solve any like problem, situation, or like math problems without the use of technology?
First, I'm looking for solutions which I can do now. And maybe first a deep breath and have a go into my mind and what told my parents what I do in which situation, something like this.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, bye. So how do you solve problems without the use of technology?
Without the use of technology?
Without the use of technology.
Critical thinking.
Critical thinking?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, okay, thanks.
That's it? That was easy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good.
So, like what the other people said before in the interviews, and I totally agree, to be able to solve a problem, you first have to like know all the information that you're given, and then to find what you're missing, you would like take a deep breath, like what one of the interviewers says before, and just list the steps down about what you could do to solve that problem, and then you'll somehow be able to solve it. If you still can't, then you can like ask other people and resources around you. So another thing I would like to say that I realized after these interviews is that like you're able to probably solve your problems like if you have enough like resources. You don't have enough info about how to like solve it, you can like do a lot of research. You could go to the library and research about it, or you can ask about the people around you without needing to use the use of technology.